podcast, first live session. I'm joined here today with Brian. Brian, good seeing you again.
Yes, good
Thank
to
you
be
for
here.
being on.
Hmm.
So, we have some questions from the viewers out there, and we can answer them to the best of our abilities. Don't forget to please like, comment, and subscribe. Please subscribe. Trying to reach 100 subscribers.
Hmm.
The more it gets around, the more people we can help. Um, so let's get into it. Turning negative into positive. How has a setback or relapse in your journey with sobriety turned into a catalyst for growth?
Well, in the further the first part of that question,
Mhm.
um, do you are you meaning in the journey that I've been on since I've been on?
Nope. Nope. This is before treatment. This could be trying to do it on your own. This
Okay,
could
all
be
right. Well, trying to do it on my own didn't work out. I went into different types of atmospheres and different locations of not treatment itself, but the ministries and things like that. Even then, going back around those people, places, and things, being gone, it worked out. But once I got released or got, left there, going back around the same crowd, the same things wasn't their fault. It was just mine. No mindset of changing direction and changing people, places, and things. So I set back. I had not many setbacks, but enough to drive me to this point.
so in those places you would say that you had some reservations still.
Well, I wouldn't say reservations. You get out, you do these things for an ample amount of time, months uh, at a time, and you get 6 or 7 months up under your belt of being gone. And but when you go back around the same people, places, the things, old habits and old things, it's like second nature. No reservation. I didn't, get out and just go first force, and that was my mindset of doing. No, not at all. As some time, it just took place. I didn't have a job when I first get back out, so I had to get a job, which wasn't hard to do. But then later on, uh, things came into play. Having money, having transportations, and all of these things come in play. But not the first thought. Well, once I get out, that's what I'm going to do. After going through a lot of seeing a lot of people come in and out and being a part of seeing that wasn't mindset at all. But getting out to have these things, what you wouldn't have in these type of atmospheres, as in money and having your access to, I wouldn't say freedom, because uh, I would just say not in a program to that magnitude. Um, and then getting out and then having these necessities and things that work and get these things to where it can um, you start off going to work for weeks and weeks at a time, but then that gets old to you, and then you think you got it, and then you have a pocket full of money. I mean, it's just the way it is, but no reservation um,
I,
at
I,
all.
I could agree with you on that, on a lot of the stuff that you said, and I went through similar. And I would say my biggest catalyst was years going some years without drinking. Um, when I picked up that drink again after so many years, I've learned how a progress what kind of progressive illness that it actually is,
Right.
and I think that was a catalyst to my recovery today.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
What do you think spiritual and emotional growth and in AA often comes from more failure than success, or in recovery in general?
Well, it goes back to the first part of the when we first started. It goes back to reservation. In going into treatment, there's no reservation in the felon or doing these things unless you just really don't want to be there and go through it or being told what to do or asked what to do, things like that.
Mm.
Uh, and then I had to tell myself, for me, I had to tell myself when I reached out for help, I picked up the phone and called them. Then I reached up the phone and called me.
You reached out.
I reached out. So with that, with having that mindset, there was no reservation uh into going to these things, and then just going through the process, spiritual growth and things like that. Um, when you get released from these type of atmospheres, you tend to get complacent. You keep you stop doing what you've been doing in them 6 to 7 months you've been gone, and with spiritual growth, whatever program may be, because it takes spiritual. You
Back in an
tend
uncontrolled
Right.
environment.
You tend to get complacent. Tend to get the old behavior, listening to music. You tend to doing all of these things, and then before you know it, sneak up on you. But long as things are going fine and you are in that fine space, it goes along with jail or anything in that magnitude. It's just where it is. But once you but going in them places, you're not gonna be there forever,
Hmm.
and um, getting out and things like that. It just goes back to getting complacent. Uh, you go, like for me, being in the ministry, going from going to church 3 days a week or whatever the case may be, and going through that routine of doing these things, and then getting out and then go to church once on Sunday, then don't go to church and things like that, and then before you know it, I'm not going to church. Reading my big book, which I call the Bible, reading that from months and months at a time, being in these type of atmospheres and witnessing to people. Then when you get out, you don't go around or change your settings.
Somewhat like living off yesterday's
Right,
recovery.
right.
Hmm.
So, you know, if I feel like you say reservations and things like that. For me, I feel like that's an excuse, and all of my excuses what brought me to this point today. And I feel like excuses just is for those who just like making them. So I wouldn't call it a reservation due to the fact is going in a place to get help, and then the whole time you're there, you're sitting there thinking about this and that, things like that. I mean, it defeats the purpose of even going. So for me, I knew I was at my wits. Walking around all night and things like that. It it just it was enough was enough.
You
So
were ready.
yeah.
Can you share a moment when you felt a slip ended up kicking you upstairs spiritually or regularly?
Well, I would say felt a kick, so to speak, kicking me up. I felt the kick kicking me down. I felt the kick kicking me down, and that was drugs and alcohol.
Hmm.
And the part of the only part of the other kicking it up was me making an initiative to make a phone call to reach out for help, because I knew there wasn't no facility calling around asking, do you need any help? So I had to take the initiative. So that's kicking it up for me. It's just making it one move. What I chose to do with that one phone call or whatever was in my own destiny. And for the most part, some things prevailed to a certain degree, and then and some didn't. But now it progresses for me is to stay up, but not to let the ego and things like that go take control.
So we're reading questions from followers. If you guys have any questions out there, feel free to ask them, and we'll do our best to answer them. How do you personally define progress in recovery when not tied to perfection?
I feel like progress is for me is not bothering anyone with my own BS.
Hmm.
And meaning um, I don't have any BS today.
Hmm.
So with that alone is progress. Because without progress is BS. When you're stuck in the negative, you're not moving forward. So for me now, no negativity is needed for me. It's progress, not perfection. But progress for me is just to keep moving and to help others if I can on the way. And there's no error for going backwards. I
Hmm.
mean, to go backwards, go backwards. I mean, there's a reason why I word called progress. It's for you to progress, but you got to have the mindset to want to do it. For me, I just got the mindset to do it, and I, with my higher power, no setbacks.
What would you say some progress came from some failures? Because on, I mean,
Well, yes,
progress.
yes, I would say a lot of progress came from failure,
Hmm.
from falling off and not dusting myself up to get back up right away, sitting, pouting, or rolling around in the things that I created for myself. But now that was hindering me from progress, from not getting up, being the person that I'm supposed to be, and reach and look for someone else outside of myself, which is a higher power to pull me out of it. We sometimes we for me I relied on others to do it, and things didn't work out so well.
Right. What truths have you learned through relapse that you may not have grasped through abstinence alone? I could speak on that one. I would say I learned that alcoholism is a progressive disease and it's a progressive illness, and I wouldn't have understood that if I didn't have a gap in if I didn't have an abstinence and then came back and faced uh, you know
I feel you.
yeah.
I feel you.
So that I would say for sure that it is a progressive illness, and that's something that I could say I learned from failure.
Well, I think for me, alcohol is the big is the symptom, is the rule, the cause of the addiction and all of these things.
Hmm.
But I also think it is uh it's a mind thing, it's a mental thing. I feel that if you let someone or anything else take control or try to control you to the point where it has you that way,
Hmm.
or to make you go that way, because you got to remember, you go get alcohol don't come to you.
So kind of
So
like drink to deal
R-
with
right,
things or deal with people,
to deal with
or
things, to deal with everyday life. So I
Mhm.
feel like for me, uh I used to use that and go and get it and all of these things, but now I feel, if the alcohol and drugs didn't break me back then to where I'm gone, not sitting here,
Mhm.
I feel like now moving forward, making progress, I feel like nothing should
Right.
excluded. Besides alcohol or drugs, I feel like any human being shouldn't control or bother me to the point where I had to go backwards.
Mhm.
And that's the way I just feel. I stand on that because being out there in the darkness and being out there all alone and being out there, all these things, people had a lot of opinions. Nobody had opinions to come say, hey, you want a glass of water? Hey, you need this. Hey, you need that. So I feel now moving forward that I'm sober, not perfect, that I feel like I I rather die first than to go back to drinking and drugs due to my own actions or anybody else's.
Mhm.
And I stand on that. Just the
So
way
you
I
can't
feel.
use it as excuses blaming other people to
Yeah,
go back.
no. So I mean, for the most part, due to the mind boggling of the alcohol and drugs that caused in my mishap and my delusion of thinking, I used to consume or blame people for my
Mhm.
thing. But I come to realize that I had to take actions for allow that to happen. So now I have boundaries now to where I don't have to. I disassociate with that and stand on my own 2 feet and in the fear of nothing but the man up above.
There it is. How does relapse deepen understanding on the phrase "Do not take that first drink"? Um, and again, I would speak on that is it's not the caboose of the train that kills you, but it's the first card.
Right. I,
Um,
I would say, for me, the drinking and things, it was bad. I will say that, but I also know that, um, if you drink to where you still God, my higher power still allowed me to have breath in my body to do just this day. He wasn't ready for you to leave yet,
mhm.
and I do really truly believe that. So with that alone, I'm grateful. So with that, I just say that if people hadn't found their way or need someone to talk to or need to reach out and things, I advise them to do that, because it may not seem bad now, or it may not seem like it's bothering you, or your rock bottom, or whatever they want to call it. Put a name on it. I just feel like, it is better late than never to reach out for help. So, give it a try.
No, simply put, I would say that it triggers the allergy, and one is too many, and a thousand is not enough.
Yes, I would say that as well.
In what ways can relapse reinforce the importance of humility in recovery journey?
Well, I mean, to answer that question, I really don't know the answer to that
Hmm.
question. Um, Humility for me, I die to myself daily.
Hmm.
And
What do
that's
you
just
mean by that?
what I mean by that is that I don't let anyone else's actions define or make me go out of my character today. Um, because if I go out of my character to do this, to do and to allow me to be still sick due to other things that goes on or happen in the world or in my own little destiny, then I did all this for nothing.
Hmm.
So I just I turned the other cheek.
Hmm.
um, you know, and it just well because no one knows what it feels like. If you never walked in these shoes, it's easy to look from the outside looking in. But for me, I walked in these shoes. I know what both sides looks like, and
Hmm.
they're not pleasant. But for me, I just feel like looking on it from this side, looking outward. I can't allow me to bother anybody or to push anybody to that point anymore in my life, and nor do I think or I want to allow that to happen to me as well. And I keep reiterating on people because we don't do this to ourselves.
Hmm.
We don't do this to ourselves. If I was just here by myself, we would be having this conversation.
Exactly.
Just point blank. So we can say maybe it may be excuses that people did this, people did that. To some degree, it is. Because people are we are human, we are trying to control one or want to put other expectations to our own liking. If you don't like me, I'm good with that today. I don't lose sleep because you don't like me. I know this sounds petty or whatever the case may be, but we go through our whole life worrying about it. This person's gonna accept me, this person like me, just this and that, this and that. But the only time that we really feel like that happening is when we have something to accept. It's got to be. I got to have something that you need,
Hmm.
and I feel like that's not the case today. If you not need me to give you some suggestion or me to help you on the path or to recovery or anything else in your life in that there, then there's no room to talk. I'm here.
Absolutely.
Again, that's just the way it is.
Absolutely. Again, be sure to subscribe out there. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And yeah, we're answering questions from the viewers. How does ego interfere with recognizing the value in adversity?
It all depends on which way you look at ego.
Ego.
It all depends on which way. In this mindset, the ego for me now, I boast, but not in my own mindset of doing it. I boast in his words.
Hmm.
I boast to he put the words in my mouth to say, not to be boastful in my own egotistic mindset. It's his way.
Living righteously.
Live it righteously. This is the way I feel that he would see it.
Hmm.
That's that. But for us, sometimes we can let the ego drive us back to we got this and things like that. Not the case for
And I
me
think
today.
that's where the humility comes into play too. Don't never think that you're above somebody else, or
Mhm.
look at
Mhm.
somebody different
Mhm.
because they had a relapse. Because
Mhm.
on any day that could be you if you don't
Mhm.
continue doing
Mhm.
what we do.
Mhm.
And yeah,
And with the relapses and things, I the it happens,
it
um,
happens.
and it's a reason why it happens. But for the person or people or whom it may happen to, because everyone's happened to me on occasion, just so happens it just hasn't happened or don't want it to happen and at this point, but it has. But I'm still here today telling you that you still can recover and move on.
Can still.
18 months is 18 minutes.
Hmm.
18 minutes is 18 seconds. That's the way it is. 1 second, 1 day, 1 minute, at a
Times
time.
time, one day at a time.
Right.
Sometimes 1 minute at a time.
That's right.
Have you experienced a simple truth delivered through a complicated or painful situation? So, a simple truth from a complicated or painful situation.
Yes, the reason why I'm here, I had to accept the truth of the matter is that I have a disease, that I
Yes.
was an addict, that I was
Simple
all of
truth.
these things. That's the simple truth.
Through it
That's
painful.
it was painful. That's the whole reason why I'm here.
Yeah.
But with that all being said, is that that's the only truth that I need to consume or worry at this point. Worry about the rest will follow.
Hmm.
No, and I mean that in a respectful way. I didn't come to do this to make others happy.
Right.
I came here to set me free so I could be happy, and then the camaraderie or the crowd or whatever small audience that I collect or in that matter to be it'll be a healthy situation.
Yeah. Right. The better I get, the better everyone gets.
Right, right. And that's with no expectations.
Hmm.
I don't expect anything out of people today, and that's the honest, the truth for
Hmm.
me. Um, I got more to give, and I don't want anything.
Hmm.
We like to give, and we want to give, want something back. I don't want anything, and that's the bottom line. That's the truth.
There we go. What tools or practices help you stay grounded in humility, especially after a setback?
Well, I wouldn't say it was so much immunity. If I went somewhere to get some help, and then I I fall off the earth again, and I'm going somewhere else to get back help. I
Hmm.
would say that I wouldn't say me for me just if a person don't know where you been, it's easy to paint a picture that there's nothing wrong with you,
Hmm.
nothing happened to you. But for me, from where I come from, everybody was apparent that it was. Uh, it was shameful and things at first because, like I said, I would be gone 4 or 5 months, and people would think I'd be going on the boats. Where are you? What you were? People would think that's where I was, but I wasn't. I never made a phone call. I never did all these things, and it wasn't for my own egotistic reasons because I had to do things or seek things to and find ways for myself to get help. Um, a lot of people try to get me help and things like that. So if I wasn't ashamed enough to be out there drinking and drugging, so I can't be ashamed if I relapse.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say one tool that helps me is replaying the tape. I replay the tape, and that I think that keeps me, the humility. I replay that tape where I know where it can go,
Hmm.
and yeah, just replay that tape.
So I play the tape day in and day out
Hmm.
in a positive way.
Yeah.
Um, I take personal inventory and things like that for not for myself. And I mean this. I take personal inventory for what goes on around me.
Hmm.
When I go to work, I see people sleeping on benches and things like that, and I know that could be me, and I know that was me.
Hmm.
So that's how I take the it go I, it, we go by I go by sight.
Hmm.
I can't. I'm not a straightforward looking person.
Hmm.
I wasn't when I was on drugs and alcohol, and I'm not now. So I watch my surroundings, and I know where I was and where I used to be, and things like that. And I know I'm just one bad decision for still being that way.
Hmm.
And that's the honest God truth.
Yeah. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe out there if you're new. We're reading questions from the viewers. If you have any questions, feel free to put them down below, and we'll do our best to answer them. How do you reframe negative experiences into something spiritually or emotionally useful? I guess maybe that's kind of how you just answered. You didn't go straight, so and you play those experiences.
Yeah, right. And even then, them are not negative
No,
experiences.
no, no, not
It's
at
all the
all.
perception, the way you look at it. We look at things and
Perspective.
things are
Yeah.
not going the way that it all going for me, and we look at things negative. I was a part of that, so
Hmm.
don't get it twisted. But now I look at things a lot different. I look at things that not so negative anymore.
Right.
It's a positive a thing maybe came out of what is happening in this way, and I look at it now. That's the way I look at it. This person was, could have been working. Anything traumatic could have been going on in him or her life out there, and not to kick them when they're down.
Right. Exactly.
And that's just, we tend to, as humans, we tend to do that.
Hmm.
And I speak for myself. I once done that. Don't get it twisted. And I once was a part of that, so I know what both sides feels like. So to be in a Porsche today and then to be riding a bike the next day. If you never rode it in a Porsche, you never been on a bike, then I mean, you really can't know which way or another. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, you know, a lot of people, and for me, I slept on benches and roads and things like that, and I'm still here. So, I rewind the tape.
Perfect. Why would you say? What would you say to someone who feels like their relapse has ruined their progress? I would say that turn that negative into a positive, and don't let it ruin your recovery. And like I said, I learned, and use it as a learning experience. And if you learn from it, I would say that there is no negative side to it. How about you?
For me, when you go into a relapse, I have a relapse moment. Uh, Being a human and things like that, that's not the initially thought. I think of for oneself.
Hmm.
I mean, we're thinking about what they're gonna think. My mom, my dad, my sisters, my brothers, my this, my dad, my this and this and that, and that's just the way it is. So for me, that I tell a person now that's been in that situation, you got to look at the overall picture. Who's needing help? Your siblings or your family members or you?
Hmm.
And that's what I had to do. I had to see I was sick. I needed help. My getting help later on helps them. But at the meantime, for the focus point now, if you relapse and things like that, dust yourself off, go get you some help, and keep going forward. Because for me, if I'm making a phone calls to get help and things of that nature, I'm doing it. I'm the one need help. My mom didn't call no facility and say she need to come there. She didn't do that. My dad didn't do that. So for me, if I relapse today, they need to know or neither will I tell them. I would just go and get me some help and keep going forward. Because once again, I'm not doing it for them, I'm doing it for myself. They follow. So it is a selfish act in a way, but for me, I just feel you had to do things today for yourself and to prescribe to help others. No help to you, no help to anything.
Hmm.
That's just just like a plant. I mean, I can get a plant and buy it and it's brand new and it's nice and it's pretty, but if I don't take it and put water and things like that on it, what's the purpose?
Yeah, you gotta be sober.
Yeah,
Be sober because you want to be sober,
right,
and yeah, and a relapse maybe sometimes happens in the mind first. So don't be afraid to talk to anybody.
right,
You
right.
know,
You know, we as humans, we like to keep things
inside bottled up.
inside, bottled up, and we don't
That's
like
it.
to confine it to anyone and things like that. Oh, they're going to tell somebody, they're going to do this and that. Sometimes that is the case, but if you never done it to see where it goes, you need to try. I would suggest you try.
Well said. Do you think pain is necessary for real transformation and recovery?
Yes, one thing I'm grateful for is pain.
Hmm.
I mean, it's grateful for pain, yes, but it's not the type of pain that I broke my arm. It's not that type of pain. It's an internal pain. I feel the pain. That's what keeps me going. I feel the pain. I feel what I know I was to where I know I need to be. That's pain. That's the pain for me. Yes, I'm grateful for the pain. One time, I mean, I was asked to write a grateful list, and I put that on the list. I'm grateful
Right
for
on
the
the
pain.
gratitude list
Right, I'm
for
grateful for
sure.
the pain. Without the pain, I wouldn't be here. Without the pain, I'd still be doing what I was doing.
Yeah, well said. Well said. So, like I said, be sure to subscribe if you're new here. And yeah, that was Brian and I answering some questions from the viewers. We'll be going live here and there. So be sure to tune in. And yeah, thank you for
All
coming on,
right.
man.
Hope that wasn't too much.
Thank you.
Hope that wasn't too much. Maybe I went too much. You
Yeah.
stop it. Stop it.